You saw the show last night? You saw what I did for you?
You made it possible for us to have a very interesting debate.
That's right.
About two guys who look at the world very, very differently.
I'd love to debate him, but I want a lot of money to be put up for charity. I think it would get very high ratings. It should be in a big arena somewhere, and we could have a lot of fun with it.
Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders exploring the possibility of a debate. Bernie Sanders asking Twitter supporters to push for the debate to make it happen. You're taking a look at it right now. Meanwhile, Trump saying he could court at least 40% of Sanders backers. Hadley Heath Manning says, don't be surprised if you see lots of Sanders supporters vote for Donald Trump. Hadley, I know that they both have sparked very similar or unearthed, if you will, similar things with people's frustration with free trade and some of the other aspects. But 40% is a pretty high number.
It is, and maybe a little overambitious, but you've heard the expression, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right now, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are both running against Hillary Clinton, who very easily represents the establishment, the status quo, the way things have been. She even participated in the Obama administration. So very easy for these guys to present themselves as the outsider candidates, the revolutionary candidates, while she represents more of the same. Yeah,
well, I think that's been a real key to both of their successes, despite the fact Sanders has been in D.C. for a long time. He's that eccentric independent who really, he caucused with the Democrats, and now he's going to change things around. What is the likelihood, you think, of a debate? Because I think it would be amazing. They'd probably get hold of it in the biggest stadium in this country and fill it up.
Right, and I think the biggest loser in a Trump-Sanders debate is Hillary Clinton, because she has refused to debate publicly, and they could both beat up on her in some kind of debate like that. But we've got very distinct candidates here. You know, Sanders and Trump, not only do they have very different explanations for what's wrong with the country, very different solutions and visions for the future of the country, but Sanders has been higher on likability and honesty, trustworthiness than Trump has been all along. So he runs the risk there of comparing their personalities, which are very distinct. And of course, when it comes to Trump-Sanders, you've got Sanders who's a very ideological candidate. You know, he calls himself a democratic socialist. Trump is not an ideological candidate. He's been sort of inconsistent with whether or not he wants to limit or grow government depending on the issue and the day. So that might pose a problem for those of us who would like to see a robust and moral defense of free market capitalism.
Yeah, on that note, again, I find it really interesting that the polls have shown that Donald Trump would get a significant amount of Bernie Sanders voters, and yet these are people who come out of these Bernie Sanders events cheering for more government, larger government, less accountability. Those are the exact opposite, the antithesis, if you will, of what a true capitalist, successful businessman like Donald Trump has done all his life, and tells the American people he's going to bring to the whole country.
Right, and in some ways Donald Trump represents some of the worst things that the left has had to say about capitalists and capitalism. So that's my concern when it comes to this debate between Sanders and Trump. I don't really believe it would represent a battle of ideas between socialism and capitalism, but rather would sort of represent some difference between the candidates when it comes to their styles, their personalities, their vision for the future, and certainly would represent an opportunity to attack Hillary Clinton and the way things have been going in our country for too long.
In his most recent poll, I think, is a public policy poll. Hillary Clinton's got a 2 percentage point lead over Bernie Sanders in California. In my mind, if this did happen before June 7th, this would take him over the top. Now, having said that, if it doesn't happen and he loses California, how does she woo him? How does she get him to ask his supporters to support him? Her brother.
Well, Hillary Clinton has been stepping very, an inch at a time further to the left in terms of her policy positions in this election cycle. That's something that I think she should continue to do if she wants to gain the support of Bernie Sanders supporters, and it would also create more contrast between herself and Donald Trump. But on the other hand, Hillary Clinton faces some of the same problems that Trump faces in the general election, that likability factor and the trustworthiness factor, where Sanders has been the candidate running ahead of both of them in those categories.
Yeah, she's got to find a way to incorporate the old eccentric dude in there somehow. I don't know how. I don't think it's VP, but she better figure it out quickly, maybe before June 7th. Hadley, have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.